happened prior to that, the ayes have it, still stands. And so they have a budget statement to work with.
They can have an opinion. Nobody challenges them. Speaking
of numbers, do you also have the numbers on your side to reject the budget as you hope it would?
You see, we've expressed an opinion. If you have the numbers, come with your numbers and do it. Our numbers don't matter. It is your budget. It is your budget. You want the budget passed. We are against it. Even if we are 2, we are against it. Come with your numbers and so that we are only 2, and therefore you have the numbers to pass it. You haven't come. So why are you interested in our numbers?
Then to what end, the impact it could have on the country if the standoff persists?
They have a government to run. And they have to show maturity. They have to show magnanimity. They have to build consensus. We cannot teach them. If they think that the way to go is to abandon the house, a landlord abandoning his house for landgas to take over, that is very unfortunate. So if they believe that they have a country to run, and they have a budget to pass, and they have the people of Ghana at heart, what are we disagreeing? We are disagreeing with the raft of tax measures that will impose hardships.
I see.
Is it difficult to ask for?
So what is the demand now? Take out those taxes you're sneaking in and would approve the budget with you?
We are simply saying that the budget as you have presented, we don't think that it will inure to the people, the benefit of the people of Ghana. And as a result of that, we are opposed to it.
So my guess is then you have other challenges or concerns about the budget beyond the sneak taxes. What would those be?
So you have a government that, one, you are running an IMF program, which is an international business transaction. You've not presented those agreements to Parliament, for Parliament to decide whether those are the obligations that we want to sign on for the people of Ghana. And yet you are building a budget around those international obligations which have not been approved by Parliament. Okay, so what does that mean? Are you taking away the powers of Parliament?
What are we up against if the budget is not passed in time, even before recess for Parliament?
So the laws are quite clear. The purse is with the people of Parliament, the people of Ghana, which is the Parliament of Ghana. You have come to us to approve for you certain expenditures. We have also come to approve for you the sources from which you will finance those expenditures. We say that we disagree with the measures that you are bringing. But you know that you are working against time. By 31st December, your appropriations will run out, and you will need a new appropriations, and you don't come to work. This is outstanding. This is a major issues about running the country. In fact, from January 1st, you can't even pay salaries, and you don't come to Parliament to try and explain your case, to try and build bridges and see how you will get that done. You only bring your leaders. It doesn't mean that it doesn't mean to me that they really are interested in
now,
the budget.
I mean, you have identified concerns about the budget, but they have also outlined some measures, some of which you have described as dirges. Let's get into that. Why do you think those measures are dirges?
Do you drive? You drive. You buy fuel. When you bought fuel a couple of years back under John Dramani Mahama, you were buying a whole gallon, which is 4.5 liters, for 16 cedis. Today, you are buying those same fuel that you're buying. You are buying just 1 liter. In fact, last year, you were buying 1 liter for 24 cedis. Today, you are buying 1 liter for 13 cedis. Okay, is that not a dirge? You comfortable with that? Are you enjoying it?
Well, they tell us that the time...
No, it is you. It's not about them. It is you. Have they increased your salary commensurately?
No.
So those are the dirges. This is like pushing a funeral dirge down our throat. And we want to ensure that we protect the average Ghanaian. the level of
well,
people
but I mean, despite what you have said,
yeah.
they, on the other hand, have also talked about how things are going down now, how they are turning the corner for the country. They have made examples of how, again, in the same example of the fuel, going down to 13, from 21 to 13. That is turning the corner as far as they are concerned.
You buy a liter for 13, and that is a corner. It means that your vision...
Well, but if you were at 21 and you're moving to 13,
who took it
that
there?
is progress.
Who took it there? Who took it there?
Is that not progress?
Who took it there? So you decide to mess us up. When we complain and you losing it a bit, and we are still tight, you praise yourself. Who took it to 21?
But it does give hope that,
I'm just asking a very simple question. Who took it there? Who took it there?
So if the current administration, and I want you to follow me, if the current administration took it to 21, and they have brought it down to, they have managed to work it out to bring it down to 13, and they call it progress, it is progress, isn't it?
To you.
Is it not?
So when you get there to buy the fuel, and you're paying a lot more than you were paying before, and somebody tells you that is progress, you are paying for it. You are paying for it. They are not paying for it.
Isn't it something to look forward to? That
go and check my car. It's showing red. And I have to manage it for a few days. That is progress, because it is so expensive that when I buy fuel, okay, it doesn't take me the number of days.
I see. Outside of fuel, when we look at the indicators, the projections they are making for overall GDP growth, in 2023, they tell us so far we've had 3.2% growth. They had projected 1.5. We do the same for non-oil GDP. They're saying we're doing 3.9 at this point. Inflation has gone down from in the 50s to now 35.2. So we are making progress as a country. We are turning the corner, as they are saying.
What are you comparing? You came at media, you gave us first quarter, second quarter. We are in November. Come and update us. You still give us first quarter, second quarter. And you say that is progress? Where did they get that 3.2% in November? Okay, and they are telling you that we are in November, they still don't have September numbers.
Well, they're saying this for the first half of 2023.
Are we dealing with first half at approving an annual budget? Are we doing media review? What are they hiding? If you read the budget, they will tell you that they will end the year at 2.3%. Is that how you turn the corner? How can an economy that was growing half year at 3.2% suddenly end at 2.3%? Why? Is it being put in reverse gear now?
No, well, the reasons that the finance ministry has given is the external factors that have hit the country.
Every economy is hit with external factors. You manage an economy as part of a global economy which faces external.
Well, I was hoping you'd let me finish that point. Yeah. So the point they are making
but I didn't even finish your question, and you jumped in because you spoke about inflation. So let me deal with that.
Go ahead.
So inflation at 54, was that 54 that you are comparing with in September or October? It was in December. Are we in December? So do you know that in December, the pressure on inflation is higher? The things you are buying today now, go in December and buy them, and you'll see the prices. So you compare...
Well, are those not ritual increases? Because in your era as well, December, election years, we see spending go up a little bit.
Maybe if you pay attention, you will understand me. I'm just simply saying that you don't compare mangoes to apples. You don't compare December inflation to October inflation. It's never done. You get it? In October, your food inflation is lower because we're harvesting crops. Food is cheaper on the market. So you definitely get a lower food inflation. Wait until December when we are finished taking all the fruits that you harvested in October. And we are now having to go into our rooms and bring what we have stored for the rest of the year. So December,
but that's the point.
Nobody compares.
I mean, it didn't jump from 50s plus to 35. There was a decline, a steady decline from that December to where we are now.
You are not,
so we are not comparing December to October. So we are looking at the progress that we have seen in the figures.
I'm explaining to you that there are cyclical influences in the course of the year that automatically moderates inflation. So you cannot be comparing December inflation to say June inflation and tickle yourself and laugh. Because December inflation have several influences. So wait until, why are they not comparing September to September? Nobody does that in economics. That you decide to compare your inflation or your depreciation of the currency in September against somebody's December. Somebody who has fought the full battle. I'm coming. Somebody who has fought the full battle and withstood all the pressures. You are still yet to meet the height of the pressures. And you say that you've done well.
Right. So what I'm trying to draw your attention to is the fact that if we were to put those figures on a graph, what pattern do you think we'll see?
If you were a student and I asked you to tell me the progress we've made, and we are in September, you are not comparing September now to September last year, but you are comparing September now.
No, that's not what I'm asking.
I am making a point. I am making a point. Unless you want to tell me what to say, but I'm making a point, and I'm not communicating to you. I'm communicating to your audience. That if I ask you at this point, tell me whether we have had improvement, and we are in October, and you are not comparing October now to October last year, and you are comparing October now to December last year, I'll fail you.
I see. So what I'm asking also is that if we were to put the figures from December up until now, we were to put it on a graph, what do you think will be the pattern that we will see?
I don't know, because I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. So why should I be interested in an average student doing an analysis that is irrelevant? I wouldn't see that.
I see. Let's move on from that. Let's talk about your apology to Harry Maguire and linking his performance at Manchester United to that of the vice president. Let's talk about why he decided to apologize.
Maguire, in somewhere last year around this time when we were doing the budget, it coincided with the World Cup. And there was very little interest in the budget. And so I took a decision that I needed to do something that would bring back the interest in the budget. So I decided that I would pick Maguire and compare his attributes, at least at that time, to that of one person who gave so much hope. Don't forget that if you understand football, Maguire, when he was at Leicester City, was seen as one of the best defenders in the world. And he was bought for a very hefty price of £80 million. He was the most expensive defender in England. So much hope. He comes to England and he becomes the threat to Man United that paid £80 million for him. Okay? We also had similar people who gave us so much hope. Similar to Maguire. Delivering lectures everywhere on how to manage the economy and creating so much, vibe around him. He was overhyped. He went to Malata market. And I remember I told you people that inflation is not calculated in Malata market. Inflation, there are 260 markets that are surveyed. Okay? We survey over 260 goods and services in the basket. Some of the goods are not even available in Malata market. Somebody who basically had little or no appreciation of the methodology used by the Fiscal service engaged in this mediocre, this display of ignorance.
And this somebody is the vice president?
Yeah. And that's what he did at Malata market.
Right.
As a matter of fact, he included cement. At that time, cement was not even part of the goods and services. And we were clapping for him. He said he could restore the value of the city. So there was so much hope. In fact, he was seen as the whiskey, the man with the magic wand. Similar to that of Maguire, who was seen as the biggest hope for Manchester United.
And that's why you make the statement. But you came back to apologize.
Yeah,
and that's what I want to know.
I came back because I'm a soccer fan. And everybody who watches football will tell you that Maguire has improved significantly. Last night, I watched him play against Villarreal. And he was the standout defender in that match, even though they lost a 2-goal margin and ended up with 3-3. But at least through no fault of his, he played a great match.
But the vice president hasn't.
In fact, recently he scored a goal in the Premier League. Okay, he's become the most important defender, first on the list in Manchester United. To the extent that when they lost key player, Lindelof went injured. We know that Raphael Varane went injured. They called on him, and he took his chance.
I see.
Unfortunately, where did our hopes end us? IMF, with cap in hand, begging everybody. Even people who borrowed from, we are telling them we cannot pay. We are men of straw. To the extent that the IMF tells you.
And that's on the vice president?
Oh, yes. When you tell people who borrowed money from that you cannot pay, you can call it any big English. You simply say that you cannot pay.
But the majority leader will think otherwise. He thinks.
I'm not speaking what he thinks. I'm speaking what I know.
No. Follow me.
Yeah.
He thinks that singling out the vice president is not correct because the vice president does not take the decisions. He says the buck stops with the president.
So when I criticized Maguire, was the Maguire the only player in the team? There were 11 players.
But don't you think the buck stops with the president? He is the decision maker at the end of the day.
So you have a role to play. The president himself singled you out and told the people of Ghana that as a result of you being his vice, we should look out for wonders. You didn't tell him that, hey, my brother, the buck doesn't stop with me. Why are you telling the people of Ghana? And you were so happy that the first few couple of budgets, you will come to Parliament with a finance minister, first time in history, to ensure that whatever you had said should be put in the budget did not disappear on the way from the Ministry of Finance and Parliament. You followed up, and you were nodding at every one of them. Okay? You actually held a stakeholder engagement, a lecture, and called it stakeholder engagement, where in April 2019, you were saying that we have done better as the head of the economic management team. You went out and told them that you have arrested the cedi or the dollar. You didn't know that the buck stops with the president? You went everywhere and said that Ghana card. Meanwhile, Ghana card was there before. So, what is it that Bawumia said that did not become a government policy or that was not funded in the budget? One, you said one village, one dam. It wasn't in the budget. You said you moved the economy from taxation to production. Was it not in their first budget? You said one district, one factory. Was it not in the budget? You said, I'm coming. I just want to show you that that is not how you treat somebody who doesn't matter.
So, I mean, the point you're saying is that he cannot extricate himself.
He delivered lectures and propounded those naive experimental theories. They became MPP manifesto promise.
But could he have taken...
And proceeded to become MPP a government policy.
Well, there could be there, but could he have taken the decisions that would apply to the economy and give the results that the Ghanaian people want? Could he have taken those decisions?
So what are the decisions? You went to a lecture room and said that you are going to move the economy from taxation to production. The president that the buck stops with believes you, agrees with you, and put it in an MPP manifesto. It didn't end there. He turns it into a government policy. What decision again do you want? And fund it. What decision do you want?
I see.
You got up and said that you would you put together a Zogo development fund. It became an MPP manifesto. It got implemented in the budget. I don't know what decisions you want.
Well, he tells us that he will be his own man, you know, in the coming race, and if given the nod to be president. But I want us to look at the.
You want me to respond to that? That he will be his own man?
No, please.
Oh, okay.
If let's look at the import bill that we know is exceeding $14 billion this year. Someone would have thought that the minority side will support the legislation that is planning to cut down on the importation of certain goods into the country, like offal and tripe. Why is the minority not doing so?
No, we just simply are saying that go through procedure. As simple as that. We are a country of systems and processes. And Parliament is in charge of its own rules. But you see, it is people like you that encourage them. In 2017, didn't they abolish taxes at the port? Was that supposed to drive away imports or open our doors for imports? Were you not in this country? Why didn't you ask them? How can a country governed by a people whose major policy trunk is industrialization?
Right. So
I'm coming.
Let
me now. Mm-hmm. A country a government that says we want to do industrialization. One district, one factory. You have infant industries that need to be protected. You came and opened the borders. Is it not the same government? What has changed?
So what I'm asking is, let's lay the issues down. If we are spending $14 billion a year on importation, in fact, on offals alone, the Yemwadia, we are spending over $160 million. And the plan is to restrict some of these things from coming into the country, perhaps even boost local production of same. I would think that it will pass real quick, but it's not.
No, so it is not about passing or not passing.
Okay.
You only want to change the name of who is importing it. That's what they want to do. They want to change the name of the importer. They don't want to stop the imports because they've told you that they want to give permits.
Which they will publish.
It doesn't matter. Whichever way they do it, they will change the name.
Why not? Is that not transparency?
If you want to ban it, why give permits? So the permit.
I don't think the idea is to ban it. No, hold on.
So how does that reduce the?
I don't think the idea is to ban it.
So how does that reduce the 14 billion?
They say they want to restrict.
Oh, I'm just saying that. Oh, in this country, in 2007, there was food crisis here. There was a gentleman who was the president of the republic and belongs to this family. He told us that he was going to ban rice imports. He changed his mouth and said, "Oh no, rather the imports will have to pass through only Takoradi Port and Tema Port." In the end, one company. You remember Finatrade?
Right.
No, I'm coming. You remember Finatrade? Did the import of rice stop? It was rather the name of the importers changed to one company. This is what they want to do. They want to monopolize. When they came and said, Galamsey, what happened? They only changed the people who were doing the Galamsey.
But they are also offering transparency.
Let me finish and you talk. You see, you have asked me a question, so let me land. They only changed the name of the Galamsey people into their people. Today, our waters are completely gone.
Like who? I mean...
Why? Unless you are not in this country. You are not in this country.
No, you tell me. Who are they? Who have they handed over Galamsey?
Haven't you been listening to Professor Frimpong?
As far as the AG is concerned, there is no evidence.
I am not discussing AG.
To the report that he's made.
Listen to me. Have you ever seen AG take a government operative to court? Is that where your standard is? That the AG, you expect the AG to say there is evidence and take an MPP man, never mind a government operative to court. Have you seen something?
Is that to say you do not trust the AG's response to the Galamsey report?
You know I have never trusted. You yourself, you don't trust it. Because even when there were video documentaries, what happened? Did they go after anybody? Even when the minister appointed by the president pinpointed names, did they end up in court? So what evidence do you want?
Why isn't Parliament doing anything about it if there is concrete evidence? Isn't that where...
Parliament does not go to court on criminal proceedings.
I'm not asking you to go to court. What I'm saying is that the Parliament could have questions answered. Have you had your questions answered about these people you say have been handed over Galamsey to?
So that's all you want? You just want us to call them to
come? Well, it could be a starting point, don't you think?
Listen to me. I think you should be raising the standards of accountability. Somebody has been given a job. I'm coming.
What is more important than Parliament?
What is questions?
But that's what you do in Parliament. You call people for questions. You've asked the Bank of Ghana to come for questions. Then why do you do that?
I'm explaining to you. Does that lead to any prosecution?
If it's not important, why do you do that? It could be a starting point.
We decide what we want to do. And we are saying that under this system, the special prosecutor and the attorney general, in fact, the special prosecutor, is only performing a delegated function of the attorney general. So if the constitution mandates you, gives you all the powers, and you are not using it, and nobody is asking them questions, but rather they are asking somebody whose duty is to provide legislation and oversight that, why have you not asked this person a question? Is that what you want us to do? Is that the level of accountability that you want? How many times, if you call a minister to the house, and the minister comes and tells you what he wants, what do? Does that solve the problem?
What I hear at the end of it is the fact that Parliament could be helpless in performing its oversight duty on the executive.
But what I hear is a media that is complicit in this matter.
How so?
A media that
How so? I have asked you to perform your duty of oversight. It could be the first point of accountability. So and you say no because it goes nowhere.
When I reject the budget, you come to ask me the implications. Okay? When I reject the budget, to protect you, when I come here, you take issue with me.
Nobody has taken issue.
You have done that.
Those are questions that need to be asked.
So there are also questions I'm answering. And I'm saying that you, a member of the fourth estate of the realm, what are you doing to ensure that the Attorney General prosecutes members of his own government?
My guess is you have also not seen the stories that have been run then.
What stories? The end result is what? The end result is that Galamsey is still going on. The end result is that they are expanding the frontiers.
So Honorable,
I'm coming.
Honorable, hold on. Let's make the point about the media. Yes. Because when the media unearths some of these Galamsey stories,
yes,
the media cannot say, I am taking that so-and-so person on.
Exactly.
The point of accountability could have started in Parliament.
Parliament does not prosecute.
I'm not saying you're prosecuting.
Parliament does not prosecute.
I have talked about the fact that the first point of accountability could be...
How many times having members of Parliament ask questions about Galamsey?
No,
I'm coming.
In summary,
is it that you are oblivious? You are oblivious of the fact that questions have been asked in Parliament about Galamsey and about Galamsey-related matters.
Very well.
Okay?
Very well.
If the Attorney General is not minded, should we keep discussing the same matter?
That's the point I'm making. That's the point I'm making.
I'm not telling you. I'm not telling you.
Hold on.
No, let me finish the matter.
While the media does what it's supposed to do, tell the stories. We have even gone beyond that and done campaigns. I can count on my fingers the number of media houses who have not done campaigns on Galamsey, and that's just an example of some of the things that we do. Parliament, on the other hand, what I'm hearing from you is we ask them the questions, they don't answer, and so we are folding our arms.
No. We are simply saying that it's a collective fight. We expect you to place the satellite where it belongs.
And we are, aren't we?
I'm not aware.
You're not?
Yes.
You haven't seen any Galamsey from TV3?
I am not aware.
From the fourth
Just as you are not aware of all the questions we are asking in Parliament, why do you expect me to be aware? You are not aware of all the questions we are asking on Galamsey. You are not. So, and you expect you have a reporter sitting in Parliament and you are not aware. Today, they want to expand that strategy they use on Galamsey to include imports. They now want to have the right to determine who imports. And we know these people, when you give them the right, they give it to their people. So they now want to monopolize the import market and give it to their people. Just like it happened in 2007, only one company was importing rice. You end up realizing that one person will now be importing the rice that you are complaining about. Okay? One person will be importing the yemadie and things you are complaining about. One company will be importing sugar. Okay? So if we are still going to keep the $14 billion business in the import of food and overs and the rest, why do you want to monopolize it for one person?
What could be a more appropriate solution to the high import bill that we have? What could be a more appropriate solution to it?
You should be interrogating what they told you about the Gadgetsbet economy. Or you were not you were not following the campaign trail of Akufo-Addo. He said that he had a blueprint, and the blueprint was one district, one factory. How come one district, one factory leads to 14 billion import bill of food? He said planting for food and jobs. You haven't asked him, why are you doing planting for food and jobs and we are importing rice? You haven't asked him. Simply put, these are failed policies of government, the implication of which they want to now profit from by finding a way to legitimately assign to themselves the right to determine who imports.
Does your,
not that we are not importing.
Does your side in this political climate have any suggestions, particularly in regards to?
So if
no,
my
hold on.
If my conversation
in particular regard, in particular regards to the import restriction bill, let's stick with that one. What is the solution to passing this bill, which we know is causing us a lot of problems?
And I have told you that the problems will not be solved. You know that. I have told you that they have not banned imports. They are simply changing the name of the importer.
If they took out that, would it work?
And that is why they don't want, you see, in Parliament, when you bring a legislative instruments, the rules are quite clear. Our standing orders are clear. If you late, 21 days start counting. You can't cross a T. You can't dot an I. So you take it with all the errors. So because of that, in the wisdom of Parliament, we have established a procedure that, look, go to the subsidiary legislation with the LI. We call it a pre-laying process. Let you and them go through it one after the clause by clause, and be satisfied that there will not be any errors. You see, if there are errors, for instance, and you decide to lay it, and it is counting, you can't stop it unless you get 2/3 majority in the House, which is easier to pre-lay, deal with the issues, so that when it goes through, we don't need a 2/3 majority to correct an error. There are also instances where the law itself must ensure that you are not using a subsidiary legislation, which is an LI or a CI, to amend a substantive legislation. Now, when that happens, either you get a 2/3 majority or you go to court and argue that they use a subsidiary legislation. Certain portions of that legislation is repealing or amending a substantive law. Which one is easier? That you could have corrected it. Somebody could have drawn your attention. Hey, there is this law. This thing contradicts that law. And when we pass it in its current form, the effect it will have is that it will amend the substantive law, which is not allowed. Okay? Or you lay it and then we go through all these legalities. For instance, let's link LI to even a CI. So you bring a CI, you lay it 21 days. No T, no dot. So you create a constituency. By mistake, you create a constituency in the Western region. One of the electoral areas is in Boga Central constituency. Listen to me, we allow it to pass like Keminni Amanor wants to do. So the people who are voting in that electoral area in Boga, they are actually voting for a candidate in Takoradi. You have to go to court and make a case that, look, how can we have an administrative structure where a constituency sitting in, say, Tamale would have a polling station or a number of polling stations constituting an electoral area sitting in Accra? If you don't go through this pre-laying, you will not see it.
I see. And
it will pass. So we are simply saying, Keminni Amanor, Honorable Keminni Amanor, you are a learned person. Fortunately, you are a lawyer. Fortunately, you are one of the most experienced members of this House. We just want to go through that procedure that in our wisdom we have established. So you go to the subsidiary legislation or pre-laying. They go through it clause by clause. You see, unless you see how Parliament works at committee. At committee, we don't do NDC and PPO. We do the nation.
Right.
So even Keminni Amanor himself may be persuaded at committee to make certain changes. And members at committee may persuade him to add certain things that will even improve the legislation.
Right.
Why does he not want to go there? Why does he want to lay a legislative instrument which we have not seen? We are not aware of its content,
right,
knowing the legalities involved in passing a legislative instrument.
But I want to pick your thoughts on $160 million plus of offals of Yemwadie into this country. I mean, what do you think about that?
I'm worried as you are. But you see, for those people, they see $160 million dollar business. They are seeing $160 million business How do I take a pie of that? So let me bring a law that gives me the power to decide who imports it, so that I have control over that import. And cumulatively, you are looking at a group of people who want to control the business of $14 billion.
I see. Let's talk about some of the tax exemptions that could be coming in the 2024 period. We know that some tax exemptions to the tune of some $454 million are being given away. My guess is the minority has some concerns with that. What would those be?
Parliament is not a rubber stamp. We are not there to do the bidding of the executive, even though we are supposed to support the executive to deliver to the people of Ghana. That support can come in actually rejecting certain things that are brought to you by the executive. So the executive, either by executive approval of the president or by a cabinet approval, would communicate certain actions that they want Parliament to consider. And the word is consider. So we will discuss the merits and demerits of it. And where we feel that it does not align with the interests of the people of Ghana, we will communicate that to the president.
I mean, from experience, what considerations would you usually make about tax exemptions? So
one is about our fiscal environment. In a situation where you know that the government is already struggling for revenue, and comes to you and say that nevertheless give that revenue to somebody for free, we would ask you questions. How are you going to fill that void? How are you going to fill that void? Why are you taxing the poor people with e-levy and giving rich people free taxes? So we would ask those questions.
I see.
For them to understand the fiscal impact of some of their policies on the very poor and vulnerable who rather need support, and the kind of people whose taxes they have brought and are willing for us to forgive them. We would ask those questions.
I see.
We will ask the question, what is the benefit to the state? Is it going to create employment? What employment? Okay. Is it going to provide some substitution of some imports? So there are questions about even the business case and whether it makes sense. It makes sense for a government that is at IMF with a cap in hand, a government that is even struggling to convince official bilateral credit, the group of creditors that are the easiest to convince. You're struggling with them.
I see. I wonder how you feel about the same, because we know that in your party's 24-hour policy, you're also promising some tax exemptions. I wonder how you feel about that.
So, like I said, we would communicate to the president when it makes sense. And we have done that in the past. It is not the first time we are approving or disapproving tax exemptions. So on a case-by-case basis, we will communicate to the president our decision that we think is in the interest of the country. Of course, if His Excellency John Dramani Mahama tabled tax incentives to support the 24-hour economy, it will not be rubber stamped. It will be interrogated.
I want us to talk about your 24-hour economy. Critics of the policy, like the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, think that it's no novelty, it's not a big deal. We even have some agencies running already 24/7. What do you think?
We were building factories in Ghana when he promised one district, one factory. It was a novelty. We told him that you can't send somebody to Kulungungu to go and build a factory because you want it. That is private capital. And the private capital will be attracted by a business case, not by a government pronouncement. We said that. But he said it was a novelty, and you were convinced that it was. We're already digging, we're already doing dams. So, Casa Preco, one of their so-called clients of one, is older than the Fourth Republic. They only went to repaint it and gave it some incentives. So 24-hour economy doesn't mean that there is nobody in Ghana or a business who has not seen the need to run a 24-hour business. What it simply means is that it is a deliberate policy to encourage and support businesses, including those already doing it, in order that they can introduce a 24-hour economy. In the United States, not all businesses run 24-hour economy. Okay? Over 30% of labor is employed in a 24-hour economy. In France, we have about 19%. In Kenya, just Kenya here, they are promoting 24-hour economy. Right. In New South Wales, Sydney, in Australia, they are practicing 24-hour economy. But the numbers are scaling up gradually.
I see.
So we want you to understand. And I heard somebody publish some ignorant article that when John Mahama becomes president, government workers who are working from 8 to 5 will still be working 8 to 5. Is that his understanding? The understanding is not that every government machinery will turn into a 24-hour economy. We have given you a list of businesses that we believe can benefit from it. No, I need to give some education, please. Once you have got this, because this is a game changer, we don't want ignorance to prevail over common sense. So we have to explain. We don't have a problem with anybody.
And one of the things I hope you explain is what would be the bedrock of that 24-hour economy?
What does that mean?
I mean, there are those who think that you might need a digitalized environment to be able to do that, something that the Vice President is working on right now.
The Vice President, you see, Ghanaians, you buy high-sounding empty things. What is digitalization he's doing? We call that systems improvements. Okay? When we say digitalization, it's about systems talking to each other. If you go to the US and you run the traffic lights, okay? Once they get your number plate, they already know where you live. They know whether the car is insured. They know your insurance company. They know you already know whether it is valid. They know your insurance, what do you call your social security.
Isn't that all part of digitalization?
That is digitalization. What we are doing is standalone systems improvement. So if you go to if you go to school feeding program, and you decide that you introduce what we call the enterprise resource planning system, which has been practiced. I have worked with enterprise resource systems as an accountant throughout my life since I got out of school. Companies in Ghana are running that. It is a model for you to be able to run the business. So if you go and introduce that at a school feeding program, then you come and call it digitalization. So it means this is just nothing more than an accounting system.
It means that you're going to need a digitalized bedrock. You're going to need
what is that? Because you have not explained to me.
Hold on.
Because what Baumia is doing is not digitalization.
No,
I don't know what you're explaining.
Outside of that, what I'm saying is that the 24-hour economy is going to need a good transport network. It's going to need a good digitalized bedrock as well. It's going to need a good energy system to be able to work out the 24-hour economy. All of these will require money. You're telling us that the economy is one bad mess. But already, at the same time, this 24-hour economy is promising some freebies. My question is, where are you going to get the money to be able to do these things you're promising us?
You see, we are going to have an economy. We are going to inherit an economy where the capital market is close to us. We cannot go out there and borrow. We are going to inherit an economy where in the domestic market, nobody is lending to government beyond 365 days. Okay? Nobody is lending to government for 2 years, 3 years. The bond market is gone. We're only dealing with money market component. We are going to inherit an economy where we will be saddled with restructured debt that we need to pay. So what you do is to prioritize that money that you already have. And we are saying that if I have a capex, okay, I have a capital expenditure budget, I rather will prioritize that capital expenditure budget. For instance, to say, okay, in aviation, most of our domestic airlines, they go and lease the aircraft for 24 hours. Sometimes even wet lease, which includes wet lease is you rent the aircraft, you rent, it comes with the cabin crew and the pilots. And you are paying for 24 hours. But it runs for 8 hours and it is grounded at the airport. And you are paying 16 hours of no service. Okay? We'll rather prioritize that capital. So if you go to work and you expand the runway and you can put through aeronautic equipment that allows aircrafts to leave here at 10 p.m. and get to work, those airlines will run several hours. You go to Obuasi, you put one there. They'll run several hours. You go to Sunyani, you do the same. So with the little capex, you are creating opportunity to optimize that investment that has been made by the private sector. You are providing the opportunity for workers to go to work at night. For instance, we talk about passport office. We are not saying that everybody will be working at passport office in the night. But when you have gone to take your thumbprints and you've taken your biodata and they've taken your picture, why is the printing taking several months? Because the people will close at 5 and go and sleep. So that period they have gone to sleep, the processing unit, you send young guys who are sitting at home unemployed to go and continue the processing of passport. Tomorrow when you come back, you see a heap of passport processed and printed. That is what we are talking about. If you go to DVLA, it is not everybody who will have to come to work in 24 hours. But then we will be encouraging private sector businesses to have the opportunity to leverage this concept and the support we will give in order that they would optimize the use of their resources. It doesn't make sense, okay, to buy an equipment, pay a lot of money for it. You have a factory. You spent a lot of money to put the factory up, but you spend 8 hours. Well, the rest of the hours, the factory is sitting there, and you are paying some bank for the purchase of that equipment. So you want to ensure, if your problem is electricity, we'll give you a differential tariff. Go and put people at work at night.
I see. Do you foresee a challenge with your wage bill at the end of the day? Do you see it going up?
So I've explained to you that it is not all government agencies that are suitable to run shift system. Okay? So I have given you examples. It's immigration office. Already it's an essential service. Police service is an essential service. Hospitals are essential service. They already are running 24-hour systems. But these are essential services. They will continue. But you will beef up security in order to provide safety for our people. At the end of the day, what we are doing is not a blanket 24-hour for every ministry, department, and agency. So how are you going to talk about some wage bill?
Well, but if you're beefing up security, you are going to use more man hours. Yeah. You have to pay those people.
I agree, but not as somebody. I heard yesterday my big brother Che was talking about if the wage bill is 63 billion and then you are going to let them run 2 hours, it will double and triple. That is to suggest that everybody. But I have explained to you that even in a particular agency that I have picked, I have told you not everybody will be required to come to work at night.
If the policy is saying that you are providing transport and security for the companies that will sign on to the policy, then it means that you are going to be looking at more hands coming in to provide that transport and security. Well, so the money would go up. That's the point we're making.
So those people who are going to work, they will earn income. When they earn income, they don't pay taxes. You haven't looked at that. You are providing more opportunity for income earning potential. And by that, you are expanding the GDP. And you are taxing out of the GDP. If for nothing at all, don't you pay tax at the end of the month? So if somebody comes to take your job at night, won't he pay taxes when he earns the income? So what are you saying?
So it will pay for itself.
But I'm not saying to pay for itself. There will be some level of fiscal support. But I'm saying that don't over-exaggerate and create some obnoxious increments that just don't align with our thinking. I've already told you that the main reason driving this is to find a solution in the midst of all the constraints that of the economy we are going to inherit.
No, and that's what we are trying to
So I'm saying that
right?
We are now trying to optimize the budget lines that we have in order to ensure that when those monies are spent, they create opportunity to bring home more money. By expanding the economy, by providing productivity, by providing income earning potential for Ghanaians, and by that you are expanding the revenue base or the tax base that you tax from. What about that?
So at least 10 years ago when Kenya decided that it would make Nairobi a 24-hour economy, the IEA there did make mention of the fact that perhaps The problem would be finding the market for the people we want to serve at night. That we might increase production and not find the market for consumption, because production in itself will not give us the money. It's when somebody is consuming the produce. What are the numbers that you are coming up with for that night economy?
So agro-processing, you just gave us a market number, 14 billion of imports. You didn't say that? You think, can you imagine a market of 14 billion?
The $14 billion is for imports, yes. Import bills.
Of just a select few. Okay? If you then produce to substitute in our domestic economy, and you're asking me about the market?
Well, I don't see the
managing, and I'm saying that if you can produce that rice here, if you can produce that yemuadia here, you can produce that sugar here, and you even slow down the import by even 50%, that is a $7 billion market. But you see, if you are a country, you have the capacity to produce, and you are saying that if I produce, nobody will buy, the leader of that country doesn't qualify to be a leader. That is why, as a leader, you must develop strategies to push those outputs. And we are already saying that just a select few, these items are just 21. Okay? If we can substitute that 21 by even 50%, that is a $7 billion income. And you're still asking about the market. I'm surprised. Because as a business, if you want to run a business, you know you have two key challenges, maybe three. One is finance. How do you get the money? Two is the market. Okay? Two is the market. Three is your operational efficiency and performance management. So if you say, oh, I have the finances, I have the capacity to produce, but I don't have the market, so I will stop. Is that how you start a business? Kasapreko, where he started, Ghanaians did not even know what to call this 443 or 23, what they are doing. They ended up in Nigeria. They didn't think about it when they started. But that is how you run a business. That is how you run an economy. You provide the support systems that make this happen. You begin to engage in economic, diplomacy, to open markets. Today, I can tell you that if you can produce beef and you can win the market to China, okay, you will ship containers every day. But it doesn't mean that it will be easy for you to hit that market. Okay? Leaders are meant to unlock doors.
I see.
So, this is not those experimental things you just land in
But we also see that this is not happening overnight.
I'm coming.
So what are the timelines you're putting to this?
Nation building is not an event. Who said that? We never said nation building is an event. We never said that it's going to be easy. But we said that we are willing to put in the hard work and the hours.
Indeed.
To realize the potential of the people of Ghana.
Thank you for coming, Honorable.
It is my pleasure.
Honorable Isaac Adongo has been my guest here on Hot Issues. Very exciting conversation with the Honorable Member of Parliament. And he says that, well, they haven't said it's going to be easy, but they are willing to put in the work. I'll see you same time next week here on this channel for another exciting episode of Hot Issues. I'm Keminni Amanor. Bye-bye.